Nate here, showing you how to make a 6-foot long bench for your dining table. So to start this project, you will need 5 6-foot long 2x4 boards. I'm here just starting the cut of a 16-inch long 2x4 and 13-inch long 2x4. And then I'm going to use those two to then cut the other pieces of that to length. So we're going to have 6 16-inch 2x4s after this cut, and then we're going to have 8 13-inch 2x4s. As it's maybe kind of noticeable, my right hand doesn't work. I do have bicep and tricep where I can use it very limitedly. It was an injury I received while I was in the military. It was a roadside bomb in the Iraq War. Pretty much took out my shoulder and a lot of my nerves where I can't move my hand. But I really do enjoy woodworking, and I found it does help with my anxiety and any PTSD I did have. So again, at this part, I'm cutting the 13-inch boards to length. We're going to make 8 of those for this 6-foot long bench. So there's our 8 13-inch long boards. So far, we should have 6 16 inches, 8 13 inches, and lastly, we'll have 4 30-inch 2x4 boards. And so after you cut, you should be left with 6 16 inches, 8 13 inches, and 4 30-inch 2x4s. And I didn't show this, but you'll have 70.5 inches 1x4 boards as well, 4 of those. And again, this is just my preference. I like to kind of sand with 150 grit sandpaper with the boards before I glue them up and screw them together. So I'm just going to sand all the 16-inch, 13-inch, and 30-inch boards. Just a quick little sand, not too detailed. I kind of like to round the edges just a little bit more. Now I'll start with 2 16 inches and 2 13 inches. The 16 inches on the ends, 13 inches kind of squeezed in the middle. I'm going to glue them up. But before I do that, I'm going to make pilot holes so I don't crack it. And then I'll glue them up and then make a little square. And this will be the first of 3 I'm going to make like this. And again, I have to use a lot of clamps kind of to help because I don't have a lot of strength in that right hand. But it's probably good anyway to get a square. And then as you can see, I usually can't really hold the screw with my other hand. Usually have to find different ways to get it in. Get the last little piece in here. There's a lot of clamps. Get that hold really well. I don't have a lot of strength in that right hand to hold it, and just kind of stabilize it just a little bit. And there we go, 3 of them. And then I just do a little quick sanding, about 150 grit still, just to get the wood glue off. And then we have a pocket jig set to 1.5 inches. We're going to use 2.5 screws for these. I just do 2 on each end, so the 30-inch long boards. And then we're going to use the 30-inch boards to connect two of the squares. I usually kind of put the screws in first just to prep it. This part is usually kind of difficult for me, especially with the limited use of my right hand. But I usually try to use some clamps to push it as hard as I can together. I'll glue up all the sides, push in the pocket holes, the pocket screws, 2.5 inches long. There we go, make sure it's flat. If it's not, usually it's one of those that 30-inch board slightly crooked. Sometimes I always have to re-screw it back in or get it square. And then we're gonna screw in the third part and then connect the whole bench together. And then I'm going to mark in the center so I can put the last 13-inch 2x4s for extra support. Drill pilot holes. And then I'll do the final sanding using 220 grit sandpaper. Usually don't like to go any smaller than that due to I am going to stain this with gel stain. So don't want to go too small where the pores of the wood are too small. I can't get any penetration in. So 220 is like where I usually like to be though. You can go smaller if you prefer. And then here we're using gel stain, F-Switch pine gel stain. It really looks good with yellow pine as what this wood is here. This is just your 2x4 construction yellow pine lumber you get at Home Depot. But this stain makes it look pretty good. So I usually kind of put it on, leave it about for a minute, then wipe it off. And there's the final part of the bottom part. Now we're going to do the 1x4s. Again, this is just a preference. I like to round mine. They come kind of square, but I like to round the ends. So I use a router. Just one little pass to round the 1x4s on each side. And then after I do this, I just kind of sand it. Again, 150, 220. I just rounded the sides a little bit more. And here it is. Here's the final piece. This is after it's stained, and then I also stained the 1x4s. I glued those on, and then I used 16 gauge brad nails to put those tops on there. And it goes pretty well with a table I also made that's made out of cherry. But of course the benches are made out of yellow pine, which looks pretty good. At least I think so. And there we go. I made 2 of those benches and put them next to a table. And that's the final product.